My wife uninvited me from her 48th birthday party. All my friends' husbands are successful. You're just an ordinary paramedic. I'm ashamed of you, she said. I walked away quietly. What she didn't know, I was documenting everything. And months later, when the governor called my name on stage, my name is Wade Carter. I'm 50 years old, and I've been a paramedic for 26 years. I've pulled people from wrecked cars, brought them back from overdoses, held pressure on wounds that would have killed them in minutes. I've saved more lives than I can count. But apparently, that wasn't enough for my wife. The invitation list for Joanna's 48th birthday sat on the kitchen counter for 2 weeks. I watched it grow longer each day. Her friends from the PR firm, their husbands who worked in finance and real estate, the couple who owned that Mediterranean restaurant downtown, everyone who mattered in her world, everyone except me. 3 days before the party, I finally asked her directly. We were both in the kitchen. She was scrolling through her phone, probably looking at party decorations or wine lists, and I was just getting home from a double shift. "What time do you want me there on Saturday?" I asked, pouring myself water. She didn't look up. "You're not coming." I thought I'd misheard. "What?" Joanna set her phone down and turned to face me. Her expression wasn't angry, which somehow made it worse. She looked tired, like I was a problem she'd been putting off dealing with. "Wade, all my friends' husbands are successful," she said. Her voice was calm, measured. "They're doctors, executives, business owners. You're just an ordinary paramedic." The words hit harder than any punch I'd ever taken. Just an ordinary paramedic. 26 years of running toward danger while others ran away. And that's what it came down to. "I'm ashamed of you," she continued. "I don't want to feel embarrassed on my own birthday. So it's better if you don't come." I stood there holding my glass of water, still in my work uniform that smelled faintly of antiseptic and emergency. My hands, which had been steady through countless crises, felt unsteady now. "I see," I said quietly. "Thank you for understanding," Joanna replied, picking her phone back up like we'd just discussed weekend errands. I didn't argue, didn't beg. What would be the point? You can't force someone to value what you do, to see worth in saving strangers' lives when it doesn't come with a corner office or a six-figure salary. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she asked, but because lying next to someone who's ashamed of you felt worse than sleeping alone. Saturday came. I watched Joanna get ready, choosing a burgundy dress that probably cost more than I made in a week. She checked her makeup 3 times, adjusted her necklace, sprayed perfume that filled our bedroom with something expensive and floral. "You'll be okay here?" she asked, grabbing her clutch. "I'll be fine," I said. She kissed my cheek quickly, already mentally at the party, and walked out. I listened to her car pull away, then sat in the silence of our house. The same house we bought 18 years ago when William was 8 and Lily was just a baby. Back when being a paramedic was something Joanna bragged about to her friends. Back when saving lives mattered more than impressing people at dinner parties. I opened my laptop and created a new folder. I named it simply Documentation. Then I typed the date and a single line. Excluded from wife's birthday. Reason, career embarrassment. I didn't know yet where this would lead. I only knew one thing with absolute certainty. I would never again apologize for spending my life saving others. And if that made me an embarrassment, then maybe it was time to stop trying to fit into a world that didn't value what I did. The question wasn't whether I was enough. The question was whether I wanted to spend the rest of my life with someone who thought I wasn't. The morning after Joanna's birthday, she came downstairs humming. Actually humming, like nothing had happened. She poured herself coffee and scrolled through her phone, smiling at photos from the party. "Everyone had such an amazing time," she said, not looking up. "Brianna posted the most gorgeous group shot. You should see it." I was at the kitchen table, drinking my own coffee. "I'm sure it's nice." She glanced at me then, picking up something in my tone. "Don't be like that, Wade." "Like what?" I asked. "Sulking," she said. "We discussed this. You understood." I took a sip of coffee. "I understood that you're embarrassed by what I do for a living. That's not quite the same as being okay with it." Joanna set her phone down with a sigh. "You're being dramatic. This isn't personal." "How is telling me you're ashamed of me not personal?" She waved her hand dismissively. "It's about optics, Wade. Perception. At our age, people expect a certain level of alignment." "Alignment with what?" I asked. "Success," she said simply, like it was obvious. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was William, our 26-year-old son. The text was brief. Can we talk? Coming over for lunch. William arrived around noon, still wearing his suit from whatever meeting he'd had that morning. He worked at Sterling Financial Group downtown, one of those firms where everyone wore expensive watches and talked about portfolios over martini lunches. He'd always been ambitious, like his mother. We sat in the living room. Joanna made sandwiches, playing the perfect hostess, though I noticed she kept checking her phone. So, William said, setting down his plate. Mom told me what happened with the birthday party. I looked at Joanna, who suddenly found her sandwich very interesting. She explained that you two are having some differences. William continued. His voice was careful, measured, about career expectations and lifestyle alignment. Career expectations, I repeated. Is that what we're calling it? William shifted uncomfortably. Dad, look, I respect what you do. I do. But Mom has a point. Those words hit harder than I expected. Go on. You've been a paramedic for, what, 26 years. Same position, same salary range. No upward mobility. He paused. Mom has worked really hard to build her career in PR. She networks, she maintains relationships. She's created a certain image for our family. And when your career doesn't match that level of ambition, it creates tension. Ambition, I said quietly. I save people's lives, William. I brought a 6-year-old back from cardiac arrest last week. Is that not ambitious enough? William looked uncomfortable. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? I asked. He hesitated, then said what he'd clearly come here to say. Mom's right, Dad. You could have done more. You could have become a supervisor, gone into hospital administration, gotten an advanced degree. Instead, you stayed in the field. You chose to stay small. Stayed small. My own son, saying those words to my face. I'm not trying to hurt you, William added quickly. But if you're honest with yourself, you know it's true. You settled, and now Mom's paying the price socially. Joanna reached over and touched William's hand. Thank you for being honest, sweetheart. Your father needs to hear this. I looked at both of them, sitting there united in their judgment of my choices. My wife, who I'd supported through graduate school while working double shifts. My son, whose college education I'd helped pay for with money earned driving an ambulance through some of the worst neighborhoods in the state. I see, I said, standing up. Is there anything else I need to hear? William glanced at his mother, then back at me. Just that maybe it's time to think about what Mom needs for a change. What would make her happy? What would make her proud instead of embarrassed? I nodded slowly. I'll keep that in mind. After William left, Joanna turned to me with something like satisfaction in her eyes. See, even your own son understands. This isn't just me being unreasonable. I didn't answer. I went upstairs to the guest room and opened my laptop. I added a new entry to my documentation folder. Son William sides with mother. State's father chose to stay small by remaining in field work. Mother pleased by this support. I also started a new document. I titled it Financial Records and began gathering information I should have been tracking all along. Credit card statements, bank records, retirement accounts. Because if my own son thought I'd stayed small, I wanted to make sure I understood exactly how large my wife's ambitions had grown and who had been paying for them. It took me 3 days to find it. 3 days of going through credit card statements, bank records, and loan documents while Joanna was at work. What I found made my stomach turn. A Visa card I didn't recognize, opened 2 years ago, in my name, with my social security number. Current balance, $47,000. The charges told their own story. Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, day spas, high-end restaurants. All places Joanna frequented with her PR friends. I sat at the kitchen table Tuesday morning, the statement spread in front of me, when my phone buzzed. It was Lily, our 19-year-old daughter at Boulder. Her text was short. Dad, can you call me? It's important. I called immediately. Lily, everything okay? Not really. Her voice sounded tight. I got an email from the financial aid office. They're saying there's an issue with my spring tuition payment. That the money from my college fund didn't come through. My blood went cold. What do you mean it didn't come through? The fund that you and Mom set up when I was born, Lily said. It was supposed to cover all 4 years. But they're saying the account's almost empty. Dad, there's only $8,000 left. There should be over $60,000. I closed my eyes. Let me look into this, sweetheart. Don't worry about it. After I hung up, I logged into the college savings account. Lily was right. The balance was $8,247. I pulled up the transaction history. Over the past 3 years, there had been regular withdrawals. $5,000 here, $7,500 there. Always transferred to an account I recognized. Joanna's personal checking. I downloaded everything, printed it, added it to my documentation folder. That evening, when Joanna came home, I was waiting in the living room with the credit card statement and the college fund records. "We need to talk," I said. She set down her bag, immediately defensive. "About what?" I held up the Visa statement. "About this credit card you opened in my name. The one with $47,000 in debt that I knew nothing about." Her face went pale, then flushed. "I can explain." "In this," I continued, holding up the college fund statements. "Lily's tuition money. The money we saved for 19 years. You've been taking it." "For what, Joanna?" "Designer clothes? Spa treatments." "I borrowed it," she said quickly. "I was going to pay it back." "Borrowed," I repeated. "You stole from our daughter's education fund and opened credit cards in my name without telling me. That's not borrowing. That's fraud." Joanna's expression shifted from defensive to angry. "Don't you dare judge me. Do you know what it costs to maintain the lifestyle necessary for my career? To look the part at events and meetings? You think those clients want to work with someone who shops at Target? So you stole from Lily," I said flatly. "I invested in our family's future," she shot back. "In opportunities that your salary could never provide. Someone had to think bigger than just getting by month to month." "Getting by," I said quietly. "Is that what you call saving people's lives?" "I call it staying exactly where you started 26 years ago," Joanna said, "while I've been building something that actually matters." I stood up, gathering the papers. "Lily needs $52,000 for her remaining tuition. You're going to find a way to replace what you took." "With what money?" Joanna laughed bitterly. "You want me to magic it out of thin air?" "Not my problem," I said. "You took it, you fix it. Or I show these documents to a lawyer, and we talk about financial fraud and identity theft." Her face went white. "You wouldn't." "Try me," I said, and walked upstairs. I called Lily back. "Sweetheart, your tuition will be covered. I promise. Your mother and I are handling it." "Dad, what's going on?" Lily asked. "Mom's been acting weird lately, and I saw her birthday photos on Instagram. You weren't in any of them." I hesitated. "We're working through some things." "Is it bad?" she asked quietly. "It's complicated," I said, "but you focus on school. I've got this." After we hung up, I opened my laptop and started researching divorce attorneys. Not because I decided anything yet, but because I needed to understand my options when someone you've trusted for 23 years turns out to be someone you never really knew. Thursday started like any other shift. I reported to Station 7 at 6 a.m., checked the rig, reviewed the schedule. My partner Jake was already there, running through equipment checks. "You look tired, man," Jake said, handing me coffee. "Long week," I replied. "Joanna is still giving you grief?" I mentioned some of it to Jake during a quiet moment last shift. Not everything, just enough. Something like that. The call came at 9:47 a.m. Overdose. Residential address in Lakewood. Male, 23, unresponsive. We were there in 6 minutes. The young man was on the bathroom floor, lips blue, no pulse. His mother was screaming. I started compressions while Jake administered naloxone. 1 dose, then 2. Nothing. "Come on," I muttered, continuing compressions. "Come on, kid." 3rd dose. Suddenly he gasped, eyes flying open. His mother collapsed in relief. We transported him to Lutheran Medical Center, stabilized, vitals improving. Standard overdose call, except for one thing. As we were loading him into the ambulance, his mother grabbed my arm. "You saved my son's life," she said, tears streaming. "Thank you. Thank you." I nodded, doing my job, and we rolled out. Back at the station, Jake was quiet for a while. Then he said, "You ever think about what we do, Wade? Like really think about it?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "That kid would be dead right now if we hadn't been there. If you hadn't pushed through that 3rd dose when most guys would have called it." He looked at me. "That's 23 more years that mother gets with her son. Birthdays, maybe grandkids someday. All because you showed up." I didn't respond. I was thinking about Joanna's words, something that actually matters. That afternoon, Captain Henderson called me into his office. Henderson was 58, graying, tough but fair. He'd been with the department for 32 years. "Close the door, Carter," he said. I sat down, wondering what I'd done wrong. "I got a call from Lutheran," Henderson said. About this morning's overdose case. The ER doc wanted to commend you specifically. Said your field treatment was textbook perfect. Just doing the job, Cap. I said. Yeah, well. Henderson leaned back. I've been meaning to talk to you anyway. The county's launching a new community outreach program, teaching first aid and overdose response to schools, churches, community centers. They want an experienced paramedic to head it up. I recommended you. I blinked. Me? You've got 26 years in the field, clean record, and you're good with people. It's a split position, half field work, half teaching. Small pay bump, but more importantly, it's visibility. Recognition. He paused. You interested? I need to think about it, I said. Take your time, Henderson replied. But Wade, you've been doing this job longer than most guys last. Maybe it's time people saw what you're actually worth. When I got home that evening, Joanna was in the kitchen with her laptop. She barely looked up. How was work? She asked, distracted. Saved a 23-year-old's life, I said. His mother seemed to think it mattered. Joanna glanced at me, caught something in my tone. What's that supposed to mean? Exactly what I said, I replied. Also, I got offered a position heading a new county program, teaching community first response. For the first time in weeks, she looked genuinely interested. Does it pay more? Some, I said. How much more? Enough, I said. But that's not why I'd take it. She closed her laptop. Then why would you? I looked at my wife, really looked at her. Because maybe it's time to stop apologizing for what I do and start showing people what it's worth. Something flickered in her expression. Not quite fear, but close. What does that mean? You'll see, I said, and went upstairs to call Lily and tell her about her day. Joanna had started planning the dinner party 2 weeks in advance. Important clients, she said. The Hendersons, who owned 3 car dealerships. The Pratts, he was a venture capitalist. And Douglas Pemberton, recently divorced, who owned a chain of luxury auto dealerships across Colorado and had just signed a major PR contract with Joanna's firm. I need you there, Joanna said Tuesday evening. But please, Wade, just be pleasant. Don't talk too much about work. Meaning don't mention I'm a paramedic, I said. Meaning be tactful, she corrected. These people matter to my career. Saturday, evening arrived. I wore slacks and a button-down. Joanna wore a dress that probably cost more than our mortgage payment. Her hair styled, makeup perfect. She'd hired a catering service. Nothing was left to chance. The guests arrived at 7. Douglas Pemberton came last, carrying expensive wine and wearing a suit that screamed money. He was 52, fit, with silver hair and the kind of confidence that comes from never hearing the word no. Joanna, he said, kissing her cheek. He held it a fraction too long. You look stunning. Douglas, this is my husband, Wade, Joanna said. The way she said, husband, made it sound like an afterthought. Pleasure, Douglas said, shaking my hand with the grip of someone who works out with a personal trainer. What line of work are you in? Before I could answer, Joanna jumped in. Wade works in emergency services. Emergency services, Douglas repeated. That's admirable. Management side or field work? Field work, I said. I'm a paramedic. 26 years. Something flickered in Douglas's expression. Not quite dismissal, but close. That's dedicated. Must be challenging financially. I imagine the pay isn't exactly competitive. Joanna laughed. That brittle sound I'd grown to hate. Wade's very committed to public service. Public service, Douglas said, nodding. Noble. Though I've always believed that helping people and building wealth aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, real success allows you to help even more people. The conversation moved on, but Douglas kept circling back to me throughout dinner. Subtle digs wrapped in friendly concern. Do you worry about retirement on a paramedic salary? Must be difficult when Joanna's career takes off and yours stays, well, steady. Have you considered moving into hospital administration? Better compensation, more prestige. And through it all, Joanna laughed along, agreeing, sometimes adding her own observations about our financial limitations and my lack of upward mobility. The worst part came after dinner. We were in the living room, drinking coffee. Douglas had positioned himself next to Joanna on the sofa, closer than necessary. He was telling a story about closing a major deal, and Joanna was hanging on every word, touching his arm, laughing at all the right moments. You know, Douglas said, looking at Joanna with unmistakable interest, I'm hosting a client event at the Broadmoor next month. Corporate sponsors, industry leaders. Joanna, you should come. Bring your husband, if he's available. The way he said, if he's available, made it clear he hoped I wouldn't be. That sounds wonderful, Joanna said, her face lighting up in a way it hadn't when she looked at me in months. I stood up. Excuse me. I've got an early shift tomorrow. Nobody tried to stop me. I went upstairs and heard their laughter continue below. Around 11, the guests finally left. I heard Douglas's voice, low and intimate, saying goodbye to Joanna at the door. When she came upstairs, she was smiling. That went well. Douglas was very impressed with the evening. I'm sure he was, I said. She caught my tone. Don't start, Wade. Start what? Noticing that your client was all over you? That you encouraged it. He was being friendly, Joanna said. It's called networking. It's called something else, I replied. And you know it. You're being paranoid and jealous, she said. Douglas is a client. A very important client who could bring significant business to my firm. If you can't handle me having professional relationships with successful men, that's your insecurity, not my problem. She went into the bathroom and closed the door. I opened my laptop and added to my documentation folder. Wife openly flirted with wealthy client Douglas Pemberton in our home. Physical contact, excessive attention, invitation to exclusive event. Wife dismissive of concerns. I was building a case. I didn't know yet what I'd do with it. But every piece of evidence felt like ammunition I might need when this marriage finally stopped pretending to be something it wasn't. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Official letterhead, County of Jefferson seal at the top. I opened it standing by the mailbox, still in my uniform after a night shift. Dear Mr. Carter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected to receive the Jefferson County Emergency Services Excellence Award for your 26 years of dedicated service and your recent role in establishing the Community First Response Education Program. I read it twice. The award ceremony would be held in 4 weeks at the County Administration Building. The governor would be presenting. Local media would be covering it. I called Captain Henderson. Cap, did you know about this? I may have written a recommendation letter, Henderson said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Congratulations, Wade. It's well deserved. When I got home, Joanna was in the kitchen on a conference call. I waited until she finished, then showed her the letter. She read it, and for a moment, I saw something like surprise in her face, maybe even pride. Then it shifted into something else. Calculation. This is significant, she said slowly. The governor? Media coverage. Apparently, I replied. When is it? She asked. 4 weeks. Saturday evening. Joanna's mind was already working. I could see in her eyes the way she was processing this information, fitting it into whatever narrative she'd built about her life. I'll need to get a new dress, she said. Something appropriate for photographs. And we should think about who to invite. This could be excellent visibility. Visibility, I repeated. Wade, don't be obtuse. This is good for both of us. For once, your career is generating positive attention. We should maximize it. I stared at her. For once? You mean for the first time you're willing to acknowledge what I do? That's not what I said, Joanna replied, but her voice lacked conviction. You told me you were ashamed of me. I said quietly. You excluded me from your birthday because I'm just an ordinary paramedic. Now there's an award and suddenly you're interested. I'm trying to be supportive, she said. You're trying to manage your image, I corrected. There's a difference. She set the letter down. Fine. Be bitter. But this award reflects on both of us, whether you like it or not. We're married. People will expect me to be there. Then you'll be there, I said. But don't pretend this changes anything between us. That afternoon, I got a call from the county PR office. They wanted to do a pre-ceremony interview, feature article in a local paper, maybe a brief TV segment. Standard publicity for award recipients. We'd love to include your family, the coordinator said. Wife, children. It makes for better human interest. I thought about Joanna's sudden interest, about William calling me small, about everything that had happened over the past months. Let me get back to you on that, I said. The article ran 2 weeks before the ceremony. They'd interviewed Henderson, included quotes from some of the people I'd treated over the years, featured statistics about the lives saved and the new education program I'd be heading. The headline read, Local Paramedic Honored for 26 Years of Life-Saving Service. Joanna saw it online before I did. When I got home, she had it pulled up on her laptop. "This is good press," she said. "Very good. I've already had 3 people from work mention it." "I'm glad your colleagues are impressed," I said flatly. "Wade, can we please move past this?" Joanna asked. I made some comments I shouldn't have. I was stressed. "But this award proves you've accomplished something meaningful. Can't we just enjoy this moment?" I looked at my wife, at the woman who'd spent months making me feel worthless, who'd stolen from our daughter, who'd flirted with another man in our living room. Now she wanted to share in recognition she'd spent years dismissing. "You can come to the ceremony," I said. "But understand something, Joanna. This award isn't redemption for you. It's not proof that I was worth your time after all. It's recognition for work I've been doing all along, work you couldn't see the value in until someone else told you it mattered." Her face hardened. "I've always valued what you do." "No," I said. "You valued what you thought other people would think about what I do. There's a difference. And that's something you need to understand before the ceremony, because I won't let you rewrite history just because there are cameras present." I walked away, leaving her sitting there with the article still open on her screen, probably already planning what she'd wear and how she'd position herself in the photographs. Lily came home for spring break 2 weeks before the ceremony. She looked thinner than I remembered, stressed. She hugged me at the door, then pulled back to study my face. "Dad, you look tired," she said. "Long couple of months," I admitted. "Where's Mom?" she asked. "At the office. Working late." "Again?" Lily set her bag down. "Dad, what's really going on? You guys aren't even trying to hide it anymore." I didn't want to burden her with this. But she was 19, not a child. She deserved some version of the truth. "Your mother and I are having some serious problems," I said. "Money problems, respect problems. We're working through it." "Working through it," Lily repeated. "Dad, she didn't invite you to her birthday. That's not working through anything. That's giving up." Over the next few days, I watched Lily interact with Joanna. The tension was obvious. At dinner Wednesday night, Joanna mentioned the upcoming award ceremony. "It'll be nice to have the family together," Joanna said. "William's coming too. We should take some photos, make it a real occasion." "For your social media," Lily said quietly. Joanna's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Excuse me. You're excited about Dad's award because it makes you look good," Lily continued. "Not because you're actually proud of him." "Lily, that's enough," I said. "Is it?" Lily looked at her mother. "Because I've been watching, Mom. The way you talk about Dad's job. The way you changed when he got this award. You weren't interested before." Joanna set down her fork carefully. "You don't understand the complexities of adult relationships." "I understand disrespect when I see it," Lily said. The next morning, I found Lily in the kitchen early, making coffee. She looked like she hadn't slept. "I did something last night," she said. "I'm not sure if I should tell you." "Tell me," I said. She pulled out her phone. Mom was on the phone in her bedroom. I heard her through the door. She was talking to someone, laughing. I recorded it. "Dad, you need to hear this." She played the audio. Joanna's voice, clear and unmistakable. "No, he doesn't suspect anything. The award is perfect timing, actually. Makes everything look stable. Of course I'll be there, smiling for the cameras." "Douglas, you're terrible." "Yes, I know. After the ceremony we can talk about next steps." He's so focused on his little program. He doesn't see what's right in front of him. The recording was 4 minutes long. Joanna discussing Douglas Pemberton, talking about next steps, laughing about my obliviousness, planning something that involved waiting until after the ceremony to make changes. I felt sick. "Dad," Lily said, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry. I didn't want it to be true." I pulled her into a hug. "You did the right thing telling me." "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But Lily, I need you to send me that recording. And I need you to promise me something." "What?" "Don't tell your mother you have this." "Not yet." "Can you do that?" She nodded. "Dad, are you going to leave her?" I thought about it. "I'm going to do what's right. For me, for you, for our family. But on my terms, not hers." That afternoon, I met with an attorney. Patricia Reynolds, recommended by Captain Henderson. I brought everything. The financial records, the credit card statements, the college fund depletion, the documentation folder. And now, the recording. Reynolds listened to everything, took notes, asked questions. "Mr. Carter, you have substantial grounds for divorce," she said. "Financial fraud, identity theft, possible adultery. The recording is particularly damaging. What are my options? I asked. She outlined them. File immediately or wait. If I waited, I need to be strategic about timing. The award ceremony could work in my favor, she explained. Public recognition, media coverage, community standing. It would establish me as the sympathetic party if things got ugly. Think about what outcome you want, Reynolds said. Not just ending the marriage, but protecting yourself financially and legally. With the fraud she committed, you could pursue criminal charges. I don't want to destroy her, I said. I just want out. Admirable, Reynolds said. But don't let that nobility cost you what you're entitled to. She stole from your daughter's education. She committed fraud in your name. Those actions have consequences. I left her office with a strategy. Wait until after the ceremony. Let Joanna have her moment in the spotlight. Then, when she thought everything was settled, make my move. Not out of revenge, but out of necessity. Because I'd learned something important over these months. Dignity doesn't mean being a doormat. It means standing up at exactly the right moment, with exactly the right evidence, and not apologizing for protecting yourself. That night, I saved the recording to 3 different locations, added it to my documentation folder, sent a copy to my personal email. Joanna came home late, smelling like expensive wine and Douglas's cologne. She kissed my cheek absently. Good day, I asked. Very productive, she said, smiling. I smiled back. I'm glad. She had no idea what was coming. And for the first time in months, that felt like exactly the right balance of power. The call came from Captain Henderson on Monday morning. Wade, got something interesting for you. Can you come by my office? When I arrived, Henderson wasn't alone. There was a man in his 50s, well-dressed, carrying himself with quiet authority. Henderson introduced him as James Pritchard. Mr. Pritchard was one of the people you treated 8 years ago, Henderson explained. MVA on I-70. Multiple vehicle pileup. Recognition flickered. I remember that call. 5 cars. Winter conditions. Multiple casualties. This man had been trapped in a sedan, steering column pinning his chest. We'd had to work fast. You saved my life, Pritchard said simply. I never got to thank you properly. When I saw the article about your award, I knew I had to reach out. Just doing my job, I said. That's what everyone says, Pritchard replied. But here's the thing. I'm the CEO of Mountain States Medical Supply. We're launching a new initiative. Emergency response training for corporations, schools, community organizations. We need someone with real-world experience to head it up. Someone who knows the field, can teach, can build a program from the ground up. I waited, not sure where this was going. I want to offer you a position, Pritchard continued. Director of Community Safety Education. You'd develop curriculum, train instructors, oversee implementation across Colorado. Salary would be $95,000 to start, full benefits, company vehicle. You'd still be teaching emergency response, but on a much larger scale. I stared at him. $95,000. Nearly double what I made as a paramedic. I'd have to leave the ambulance, I said. You'd be expanding your impact, Pritchard corrected. Training hundreds of people who could save thousands of lives. Isn't that worth considering? Henderson spoke up. Wade, I told Mr. Pritchard you need time to think about it. But this is the kind of opportunity that doesn't come around often. You'd be using everything you've learned, teaching it to others. It's not abandoning the mission. It's multiplying it. Think it over, Pritchard said, handing me his card. No pressure. But if you're interested, we'd like to have you start within 2 months. After your ceremony, after things settle. This job is yours if you want it. After he left, I sat in Henderson's office, turning the business card over in my hands. That's life-changing money, Henderson said quietly. Especially for someone going through what you're going through. You told him. I asked. I told him you might be facing some significant life changes soon. That financial stability might matter more than usual. Henderson leaned forward. Wade, you've given 26 years to emergency services. Nobody would blame you for taking care of yourself now. And this isn't selling out. It's expanding your reach. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table with the business card on my laptop. I ran the numbers. $95,000 meant I could pay Lily's tuition without touching savings. Could afford a good attorney. Could start over without being financially strapped. Joanna came home around 8. She saw the card on the table. What's this? She asked, picking it up. Job offer, I said. Director position. Medical supply company. 95,000 to start. Her eyes widened. 95,000. Plus benefits, I said. For the first time in months, I saw something like genuine excitement in her face. Not about me, about the salary. About what it meant for her image, her lifestyle, her ability to compete with her friends' husbands. Wade, this is incredible, she said. When would you start? If I take it, after the ceremony. 8 weeks or so. If you take it. She looked at me like I was insane. Of course you'll take it. This is exactly what we've needed. Real money, real advancement. I haven't decided yet, I said. What's to decide? Joanna asked. This solves everything. Better salary, better title, better opportunities. You'd finally be on par with the other husbands in our circle. There it was. Not I'm proud of you. Not you've earned this. Just relief that I'd finally be earning enough to not embarrass her. I'll think about it, I said. That night, lying in the guest room, I realized something. The job offer changed the equation. It meant I wouldn't be leaving as the struggling paramedic she dismissed. I'd be leaving as someone with options, with value, with prospects. And somehow, that mattered. Not because I needed her approval, but because I needed to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I'd always been worth more than she'd given me credit for. The job offer was leverage. And in the game Joanna had been playing, leverage was everything. The Jefferson County Administration Building was packed. Media cameras lined the back wall. Local officials filled the front rows. I stood backstage in my dress uniform, hands steady, mind clear. Joanna had arrived early with William, both dressed immaculately. She'd positioned herself in the second row, where cameras would catch her. William wore his expensive suit, looking every bit the successful son she'd always wanted me to be proud of. Lily had come separately, sitting in the back with Captain Henderson and some of my colleagues from the station. She'd texted me earlier, I'm here for you, Dad. Not the show. The ceremony began. 3 other recipients went first, each receiving their awards, each thanking family and colleagues. Then it was my turn. Please welcome Wade Carter, recipient of the Jefferson County Emergency Services Excellence Award. Applause filled the room as I walked to the podium. The county commissioner shook my hand, presented the plaque. Cameras flashed. I stepped to the microphone. Thank you. I began, my voice carrying clearly. 26 years ago, I became a paramedic because I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I wanted to show up when it mattered most, to be there when someone needed help desperately. I could see Joanna in her seat, smiling for the cameras. Over these years, I've learned that saving lives isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's holding someone's hand while they're scared. Sometimes it's teaching a teenager how to perform CPR. Sometimes it's just showing up, day after day, even when the work is hard and the recognition is rare. I paused, scanning the audience. People often ask who supported me through this journey, who stood beside me when the work was invisible and the pay was modest. I want to thank those people now. I saw Joanna lean forward slightly, preparing for her moment. Captain Henderson, who taught me that leadership means serving others first. My colleagues at Station 7, who've had my back through countless calls. The community members who trusted me with their loved ones. My daughter Lily, who's always understood that some things matter more than money. I didn't mention Joanna, didn't mention William. The omission hung in the air like smoke. I also want to acknowledge a hard truth, I continued. Not everyone values this work. Some people measure worth by salary, by title, by his social status. They look at a paramedic and see someone who's settled, someone who stayed small, someone to be ashamed of. Joanna's smile had frozen on her face. But I've learned that real success isn't about impressing people at dinner parties. It's about integrity when no one's watching. It's about showing up for people who can't show up for themselves. It's about building something that matters, even if it never makes you rich. I held up the plaque. This award honors 26 years of service. But more than that, it honors a choice I made and continue to make, to value people over prestige, purpose over profit, truth over appearance. I'm grateful to everyone who supported that choice. And to those who haven't, I hope someday you understand what you missed. The applause started uncertain, then built. People stood. Not everyone, but enough. I stepped away from the podium and walked directly to where Lily was sitting. I hugged her first, then shook Henderson's hand, then greeted my colleagues. I didn't go to Joanna. Afterward, during the reception, Joanna found me. Her face was tight with controlled fury. You humiliated me, she hissed quietly. In front of everyone. On camera. I told the truth, I said. That's not humiliation. That's honesty. You made it sound like I never supported you, she said. You didn't, I replied. You were ashamed of me. You said so yourself. I'm just refusing to pretend otherwise. We'll talk about this at home, Joanna said, her voice shaking. No, I said calmly. We'll talk about it with lawyers. I've filed for divorce. You'll be served papers tomorrow. Her face went pale. You can't be serious. I have evidence of financial fraud, identity theft, and your relationship with Douglas Pemberton. You stole from our daughter's education. You opened credit cards in my name. You've been planning your exit while pretending everything was fine. I kept my voice low even. I'm not angry, Joanna. I'm just done. You recorded me, she whispered. Lily did, I said. Our daughter heard you planning your future without me and decided I deserved to know the truth. Joanna looked around frantically, but people were starting to stare. We can discuss terms through our attorneys. I continued. I'm taking the job offer. I'm moving forward. You can do whatever you want, but you'll do it honestly, with legal consequences for what you've done. I walked away, leaving her standing there. As I headed toward the exit where Lily was waiting, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Free. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. Joanna tried to fight, but the evidence was overwhelming. The credit card fraud, the college fund theft, the recording. Her attorney advised her to settle. She had to repay Lily's education fund in full. The credit card debt in my name was transferred to her responsibility. I kept the house, since I'd been making most of the mortgage payments anyway. She kept her retirement account and moved into an apartment near her office. William barely spoke to me during the process. He'd chosen his side, and it wasn't mine. That hurt, but I'd learned that you can't force people to see what they refuse to acknowledge. Lily, though, stayed close. She understood what had happened and why I'd made the choices I did. I started my new position as Director of Community Safety Education in September. The work was challenging but fulfilling, teaching emergency response to hundreds of people across Colorado. I traveled, developed curriculum, trained instructors. The salary meant Lily's tuition was covered completely, and I could afford a comfortable life without stress. Joanna's career took a hit when word spread about the divorce details. Her PR firm quietly let her go 6 months later. I heard she moved to Phoenix, starting over somewhere nobody knew the story. Douglas Pemberton apparently lost interest once she was no longer married. The affair, if that's what it was, ended quickly. 14 months after the ceremony, I was teaching a community first aid class in Boulder when a woman approached me afterward. Mr. Carter, I'm Emily Richardson. You treated my husband 3 years ago after a heart attack. You saved his life. We talked for a while. She was a nurse, working at the same hospital where her husband had been treated. We exchanged numbers, just friendly conversation. But over the following months, those conversations continued. Coffee became dinner, became something that felt like possibility. Emily understood what I did because she did similar work. She valued service over status, purpose over profit. We took things slowly, both of us carrying scars from previous relationships. But there was something real there, something honest. Lily graduated from Boulder with honors. At her graduation party, which I hosted at my house, she pulled me aside. Dad, I'm proud of you, she said. Not because of the award or the new job, though those are great. I'm proud because you chose yourself. You stopped shrinking for someone who couldn't see your worth. I learned from you, I told her. You showed me what integrity looks like when you brought me that recording. You chose truth over comfort. We're a good team, she said, hugging me. At 52, I learned something that took half a lifetime to understand. Your value doesn't depend on someone else's ability to recognize it. You can save 100 lives and still have people call you ordinary. You can build something meaningful and still have others dismiss it. But that says nothing about you and everything about them. I'd chosen to stop apologizing for who I was and what I valued. I'd chosen honesty over harmony, truth over tolerance. And in doing so, I found something better than approval. I'd found peace. Not just in my circumstances, but in myself. That was worth more than any ceremony, any award, any recognition. It was worth everything I'd fought to protect.